By the year of 2010, the British cycling team can only be described by one word: God awful. That's two words actually, so my apologies. But you get the idea. You see, they joined the Olympic Games in 1908. And guess how many gold medals they achieved throughout the whole century of them playing in almost all the Olympic cycling events? One. They've managed to win one gold medal for the entirety of the century of them being there. One. And they've managed to do much worse in the Tour de France, which, if you don't know, is a large bikeathon event held annually in France. You see, they have managed to win less than one. Zero. Yes. Zip, nada, zilch. They've managed to win zero achievements, zero wins in the Tour de France. And the situation got so bad that bicycle manufacturers were too scared of giving the British cycling team their bikes. Because, as you might have guessed, if these bicycle manufacturers give their bicycles to these people, only hell could go on from there. So, it was that bad. The situation was that awful. It will take a miracle to at least make this team a decent one. Yes, a decent team. But thankfully, David Brailsford was more than just a miracle. David Brailsford had a different approach to doing things. You see, he wasn't like the typical coach. He didn't just tell his team to train 24/7, 7 hours every single day, non-stop, no breaks, no nothing. No, absolutely not. He knew better than to do that. Because his theory of marginal gains is revolutionary. And in his own words, and I quote, the whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you'll get a significant increase when you put them all together. So what he did instead was to change simple and small things. Small issues he fixed. Small changes he made. One of those changes was to give the team electrically heated overshorts so that they can stay fit during the whole marathon. Now, this might not create a significant boost in the short run, of course not, but during a marathon, that is essential because each and every single pint of effort you can save is absolutely necessary and can absolutely be an advantage too. The second thing he did was to give them each biofeedback sensors. Yes, biofeedback sensors so each athlete can see how they respond to workouts. And they can figure out things from there onwards. The third thing, one of the many things he did was to test fabric on a wind tunnel to see which fabric was the most aerodynamic because he was planning to give his team this fabric for their outfit. And these changes, it might seem big to you, but to a world-class cycling team, it was near to nothing. It didn't seem like much. It didn't seem significant. There was not a lot of money being spent. There wasn't a lot of training, or at least improvement in the training regimes. None. Just improvements, small changes, small atomic changes, you may say, that can help them become better. And David Brailsford did this for day after day, month after month, year after year. He never stopped. No sweat. And these changes You know, if you look at them up close, it really doesn't seem like much. Wearing electrically heated overshorts doesn't really seem like a huge improvement. But this compounded over time, these changes amassed over a long period of time is the sole reason why the British cycling team won 5 years later. Just 5 years later after joined by David Brailsford as coach in the Tour de France. But they didn't only win once. They won that year, the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, up until they've racked up five consecutive years of victory. And don't get me wrong, this isn't isolated from all the other events in this world. This isn't just one event, no. It's multiple events across multiple decades, centuries, millenniums. This is actually one of the most universal laws we have to date, that small changes compounded over time can make huge differences. Admiral William McRaven, in his enlightening speech of the power of making up your bed, yes, you heard that right, making up your bed, he said that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. If you still don't believe me, take the case of Jerry Seinfeld. You know just how successful Seinfeld is. He is the star and producer of the hit TV show Seinfeld, under his own name, yes. And when asked by a young comic who happened to meet him backstage of a club he was performing in, when asked the question, "What advice do you have for young comics like me?" Seinfeld answered, and I quote, he said the way to be a better comic was to create better jokes, and the way to create better jokes was to write every day. He told me to get a big wall calendar that has a whole year on one page and hang it on a prominent wall. He said for each day that I do my task of writing, I get to put a big red X over that day. After a few days, you'll have a chain. Just keep at it and the chain will go longer every single day. You like seeing the chain, especially when you get a few weeks under your belt. Your only job is to not break the chain. You see, Seinfeld emphasized the notion that it's not about making perfect jokes each and every single day. Absolutely not. Quite the opposite, actually. It's about making a joke each and every single day. No matter how bad it is, no matter how stressed or depressed or tired you may be, make a joke. Just make it each and every single day. Because once you make a joke, you can easily give it to your friends, you can easily get their feedback, and use that feedback to improve upon your joke and see what works and what doesn't. That is an atomic habit. Making a joke each day, a bad joke, that is so insignificant. It seems so small, but in the long run, you can truly see its scale, its actual scale, which is a huge difference. And this is the secret to Seinfeld being Seinfeld. Keeping at it. Just working on his chain, making it longer each and every single day, and not caring about how bad his jokes might be in some days. All he cares about is not breaking the chain. This, however, is not just prevalent in the life stories of some of the world's most successful people we know. The power of habits are actually also counted in mathematics, yes. There is this term in mathematics called compounding. It's similar to, linear growth, but the difference is the growth in compounding grows. Yes, you'll see this very, very soon. So what happens? What happens if you make a change of 1% improvement every single day for 1 year? Let's just say for 1 year. 1% every single day for 1 year. This is your skill level. This can be your intelligence, it can be your skill at playing as a sport, it can be your skill in comedy, such as in the case of Seinfeld. Now, what happens if we improve by 1%? That happens. 1% better every day for 1 year. If you do the maths, 1.01 to the power of 365. You don't have to do this, but you can use your calculator if you really don't believe me. 37.78. That's 37.78 times better than you were when you started. But what happens when we decline by 1% every single day for 1 year? What if we become 1% worse than our former selves every day for 1 year? Maybe we can do this by overeating or overspending and all the other bad habits we have in the world. Now, let's see what happens. Wow, that was a hard one. That is what happens. 0.99, which is 1% worse, to the power of 1065 is 0.03. That's almost zero. That's very, very close to zero. Completely nil. And that's just 1% decline. So you can imagine why many people say, including Albert Einstein, that compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. Because it really is. If you use it right, you'll get this. If you use it against yourself, you will get this. Most of us think that what matters more is where we currently are. Let's say we currently are wealthy, and that matters. That means we're wealthy. Maybe we currently are poor, and that matters because we're poor. But most people don't really regard, or at least consider, the idea of where you're headed, your trajectory. Because totally that is what matters. Any rich entrepreneur can have a poor and descending trajectory and be financially bankrupt by the end of the year. And any homeless person can start investing in stocks and other assets, and if they are lucky enough, they can eventually compound their money and gain financial freedom. Of course, that will take some more time, but you can see that happening. There are many cases of that happening actually. But let's take a simple illustration to make things much clearer. So let's say you were going from Los Angeles to New York, and so you will be going from the LAX, which is the Los Angeles International Airport. Now, say you were going to New York, and when your plane is still in the ground before takeoff, your pilot tells that they will move the trajectory just 3.7 degrees south. Only 3.7 degrees south. It doesn't really seem like much. Like physically, if you see it from the outside of the plane, it'll only seem like a really small tilt on the nose head of the plane. But you see, once you do that, and once the plane takes off, you'll find yourself in Washington, D.C. Hundreds of miles away from New York, your destination. That is the power of trajectory. It seems really small, but in the long run, the difference can be hundreds of miles apart, as in the case of what we've just seen. So, what matters is your trajectory. It might not matter where you are right now. As long as you're headed towards the right direction, eventually you'll find yourself in that right direction. So that is all for today. Thank you for watching. This has been Rafi Pumari. Like and subscribe. Never really thought I'd say that in my life, but thank you for watching.